like I mentioned in today's video, is going to be my March reading wrap-up. So I read 4 books this month, which out of all not 2 months, 3 months is the most that I read. So let us go ahead and just get into what I read and my thoughts, my feelings, all that stuff. And we're going to start off with it. I'm really excited because I read some really good books and I also finished off a massive series that I was in the middle of. So yay. So we're going to actually start off with Keeper of Lost Cities Legacy, which is the 8th book in Keeper of Lost Cities. I give this book a 3-star. It wasn't really that good. I also kind of forget what happened in this book, really. Like, I really truly forgot what happened in this book. And I do feel like that's what happened in flashback and in this book and like the rest of the books, because I remember like the ending of some of them. I remember like the main points and plot points. But there was just so much that I completely forgot. So I don't know. I do also have to say, by the point in like some series like this, I'm kind of done, because it's just kind of, I don't know really how to explain it. It was, you're just done with them, and even my friend who's like obsessed goes like, yeah, no, these books aren't the best, because let me explain to you. There's only 2 books truly in this series that were like a 4-star, and it really wasn't good. So that is what I read. I read, first off, Keeper of Lost Cities Legacy, which I did also do a reading vlog on finishing up Keeper of Lost Cities, and I'll have that linked in the description below if you want to go watch it. But it is spoiler, so if you haven't read it and you don't want any spoilers. Okay, the next book was a reread, because last month, if you don't know, I read this book and reread this book. There was a sequel to this, and that is If He Had Been With Me. So I read If Only I Told Her, and that book was like a 5-star. This one, when I read it over the summer, this one was also in a video, which was reading Sara Carrolli's 5-star reads, which I have linked in the description below. So we have this book, and this book I gave a 4.5 stars when I read it, and again, I still am going to stay with my rating as a 4.5 stars. It was really good. Again, I just loved it, but I also went in through and I annotated it. So if you do not know what If He Had Been With Me or If I Had Told Her was about, so what, okay, I feel like I talk very, very fast for some weird reason. Okay, so what this is about Autumn and Finny, So Autumn is in love with Finny, and they love each other, and they were like childhood friends. Their moms were friends, stuff. But when they kind of went into middle school, high school, they separated, but they still really loved each other, and you could tell both of them really, really, really loved each other. But they didn't really talk until after they graduated high school. So basically that summer they talked, and then they started hanging out and all that stuff, and that's seriously what happened. Also, it is a very sad book, so it's probably going to be a tearjerker. It wasn't for me. It's sad, but it didn't make me cry. None of the books made me cry, but when I read these books, I still cannot fathom the fact that these characters, like that Finny wasn't real, that Autumn's not real, that I can't go and say, hey, Mom, can we go to the graveyard to go visit Finny's grave? Like, we can't do that. Finny wasn't real, which is crazy, and Autumn wasn't real. And that's what I also loved about these books, is that, to me, they felt like a character. And I'm gonna say, is if any of these books were, like, thousands of pages long, I could have read 1,000, even 1,000,000 pages, and I love it. And I hope Laura Nowlin comes out with more books, because her books, the 2 that I've read so far, are really, really good. Okay, the next we read is Keeper of Lost Cities Unlocked. This one is 8.5. And this one has, if you were thinking about this, should I read this? Not, you should, because something happens at the end of this, because it's only about like 100 pages of actual like story. Because from this, how much page book is it? Dude, that's like, and there's also a point of view from Lynn's. So this is a 760 page book, but it only starts on page 527. Is basically this much out of this is an actual story. So yeah, I read it, but I didn't even read this part. I didn't really go through and read this part because, I mean, what this is it you kind of have, what is it? There's like some, if you want to make some stuff, you can make like some of the baking stuff. You can make some of that stuff that they have. You learn more about the creatures, about every single person. There's like files of these people. So that's what this book is. And it's a fun book, but yeah. And something does happen in here that is a little bit like cray-cray, but not really that cray-cray. Yeah. I don't know. So I finish off the rest of the Keeper Lost City series, which is Keeper Lost City's Stellarlune. And this one has some content of Morella. If you don't know, she was like the friend's enemy, then they were the friends again, and now she's like helping them, and she has like a pretty big power that's really forbidden. I do have to say, the elves are either all loving or not. Like, they're not really all loving either. How do I explain the elves? I don't really know how to explain them. They're greedy, and they're not really that bright. If Sophie's supposed to be like a very, very, very smart elf, then how, I don't mean this really, Sophie isn't really the brightest of people, so how really are the elves? Like, how dumb are the elves? Anyway, but it was the last book that is out. There is another book coming, so there's 2 more books. There's 9.5, which I don't know what contents of that chooses, but that book comes out in October, something like that. And then the last book, which is the 10th book. So there's going to be 10 books in the series. The last book is going to come out November, I think. So that is it. That is kind of what's out now, and that's what's going to happen, and it's just going to hopefully finish off the series. I also am going to have to say is, here's actually, I'm going to go in and actually say my thoughts of the series. I do have to say the first 4 books are okay, but you still are interested in the story. You still love the story. Then you get on to the 5th and 6th book. Those are 4 stars for me. Those are amazing books. Then you go on to the 7th through the 9th, and maybe I don't even know what happened in the 10th, but it's just so much. I don't know like how to explain it. There's not really there's so much stuff that doesn't really happen. It's kind of boring and a lot of stuff. I do also have to say is if I read them how I read the other ones, where I read like 1 a month, because that's what I did with like the first 3. I read 1 a month because there was just so much, and I don't think I could have. I read these back to back, and I feel like if I did take like that kind of periods between them, I might have liked them more and stuff. The issue is I don't know if I'll give them a second chance in the future. Oh, I didn't even tell you my rating. Okay, so for Unlocked, I gave a 2-star, and for this one, I gave a 2-star as well. So again, we're coming back to like that 2-star, and I think I don't think I gave this to any book in the series a 1-star. I think they're all like a 2-star, 3 stars, kind of around that range, and then like I said, the 2 were a 4 stars. I'm gonna say that this, for me, is probably going to be like a 3-star series, maybe 3.5, but I will recommend this series. I would recommend this series if you want to read. You want to get into reading and you haven't read, because for me, I also did read a couple of these books, because I read one Sara J Maas book before, and because you learn so much in that, and there's so much world building in Sara J Maas's books, going on to this one, which was kind of like another thing where it's like fantasy kind of world, and you have to like use more brain. That sounded really weird, but you had to use more brain than you do in like kind of, well, I should misuse too, but like than you do normally. So I think that was also one of the other reasons why. But it was also kind of to say that I really do recommend this book, this series, to people who want to get into reading, because you have 10 books. You're going to have about 12 books in a series that you can really get into, you can really like, but if you want to get into it, and this can help you get into reading and all that stuff. I do also have to say, this is completely off topic, I am wondering if I should read the Percy Jackson series, which a couple of my friends are reading it. They say that it's good, but I don't know if I want to read Percy Jackson. I don't really know, because I don't know if it's going to be like something like this, because that is a really long series, and I don't know if I'm going to be really invested in the story as if it is in there, or invested in the story like that I was in here. Because I do have to say is, like I said, the first 6 books I was super invested. I wanted to read and I wanted to continue, and then it kind of for me got boring. I also do have to say that there is a good part. All these books are like 8,000 pages. Yeah, no, that would be a big book. No, like 800, 700 page book. I do feel like that they could be about 400 pages, because there is so much repetitiveness in these books. There's so much different things. I will read the 10th book and probably the 9.5 one. I will do a reading vlog for reading the 10th book, not the 9.5 one, because I'm going to guess that it's going to be the same thing like this book, where only like 200 pages, 100 pages of it actually has story in it. So I will do that as a reading vlog, and I don't know when that's going to come out, because to be honest with you, I think it's November when Keeper Lost Cities comes out, the 10th book, but I also really might be wrong on that. But it was also really interesting getting Morella's point of view in here and all that stuff. And yeah. Again, I like this series. I would recommend the series, but I really don't think I'm going to think about it all the time. Like, it might cross my mind sometimes, but I really don't think I will think about this series. I also have to say, the reason why I didn't spread it out is because I kind of really wanted to read it and finish it, and now that's what happened. Then the last book I read in March was a really fun one, because I was actually working on this book. Like, I was reading this book since January. Now, the reason why I want to say is because, number one, I was trying to finish off the Keeper Lost Cities series. I have read a couple books in between while reading this one, and that was Throne of Glass by Sara J. Maas. Or is it... Okay, I have a question. Is it Moss or is it Mass? Like, which one? Is it Sara J. Maas or Sara J. Maas? Because I'm always so confused, because I hear it say both ways, like Mass Moss. So I really don't know, and if I'm saying it wrong, I doubt that Sara J. Maas is watching this. But if I'm saying it wrong, I am really, really sorry. So I don't know what or anything, but just have to say. And I'm not going to, and I'm also, okay, so now I'm going into this. I did not think that Glass was a bad book. Anytime I read it, I read chunks of it. Like, I loved it so much. And I do have to say, this story is really good. I love Selena Sardothi and all the other characters. It is a 4-star. It really is. It's a really good book. But it was also something, because of like the world building and because of so much kind of stuff that happens, it took me a while to read it, on top of like also reading this book, reading like Keeper Lost Cities, and I wanted to finish off that series. I do also have to say that this book will hopefully be in a reading vlog that comes out in April, because I really want this to come out in April, and that is reading, if you can probably guess by this book, but let me give you a couple hints in the book. So we read Happy Place in that, so Happy Place is in that video, this is in that video. On top of that, ACOTAR is in that video, which I also just found. So if you don't know what ACOTAR series is it's the first book is A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I forget what I was doing, but I was abbreviating it, and I realized that that's how, because I took the letter from the first letter of every word in that title, and it was very funny how it really, like, that it spells out that it was said actor. So that's like, because I was always wondering, how did people like come up with the name ACOTAR? Like, where did ACOTAR come from? And I figured it out. So needless to say, I just figured that out. And then I might do it with like And then apparently every book is like Echo Warren stuff, and I had no clue to do. Sure. Anyway, but I have that book, and then we have Fourth Wing in that book series. I mean, in that video. So maybe you can guess, and that is I'm reading Destiny Sidwell's 5-star read. I'm really hoping that can come out in April, because I've been working on that video for a while. I want that video to get up, because I also have started so many different videos that I would like to finish and get up. And what we read, Thunder Glass, and I really do like this. I do also say, when people say Sara J Maas's writing is magical and beautiful, I really do agree with that. Like, her writing is so beautiful, and it makes you just like be in that actual story. But it's also very difficult to read. I do also have to say is I like Dorian. He's kind of cute. Okay, I imagine him cute. I don't know what his like actual things. I don't know what the thing is supposed to be. I don't know like how he's actually supposed to look like. But I envision him cute. So I also did yesterday. Yeah. Okay, I did yesterday post my April TBR, and I did play bingo again. If you didn't know, I played bingo last month to choose my March TBR. Did I read books from that? Actually, I did not read any books from that TBR, but hopefully I can this month, because there's actually some great books. So if you want to see what's on my April TBR, go and check out that video, which I'll have linked in the description below. So how many books and what books did you read in March? What was your favorite book that you read in March?